Yo. It's me, Alex Overheating. How's it going? We're back. We survived another day to come and do the stream. Hey, yo. What's up, Jeff? Yeah, had a really good stream yesterday. Thanks very much to Laura for joining me. It was a good time. Had a lot of fun. Some good laughs. So yeah, hopefully we'll do another guest stream, you know, in a few weeks, and just sort of mix it up every now and again with one. And yeah, I think we're going to try and organise me going on Laura's stream sometime as well. So that'd be fun as well. You can get round two. All right, today's old painting that slaps is The Fallen Angel by Alexandra Cabanel. You will have seen this, very popular painting, but it is an old painting that slaps. Great colours in this. The skin has just got such amazing hue variation in it. There's the whole rainbow in there. Yeah, the anatomy reads really well. I love all the colours in the wings as well. Yeah, and obviously the look in the eye of Lucifer himself. Upset, edgy. What more could you ask for? It's got it all. Yeah, I know it's a popular one. I know that you've probably seen it before, but that's not what old paintings that slap is all about. It's just about appreciating the old artwork and maybe even showing it, maybe even showing it to people who've never seen it before. Historical edgelord, yeah, for sure. Very much so. So, yeah, that's today's old painting that slaps. Alright, going to a new painting that slaps. We've got this bad boy. We're going to finish it today. As in, whatever state it's in at the end of today is the state it's going to be in. So let's jump in. I mean, quite happy with where this one's been going. Everything I painted on it yesterday was kind of a bit of a blur, to be honest. More so just because like having a guest and talking and painting, just literally don't really know what happened on this painting yesterday. I'll find out today, just looking at it. I'm just getting my good old friend the warp tool out to start. Wanted a bit more. Bit more of that curvilinear goodness. Right. Yo, Jonah, what's up? You late, mate. Banned. It's merging time. So I want to get a bit more of a... Yo, Dan Rob, what's up? Wanted to get more of a kind of painted blur on everything. In a kind of, you know, very stylistic kind of way. Not just doing a Photoshop kind of blur. So that's going to be one of the main things that we are painting in here on this today, is sussing out those edges softening them out and just giving the effect of a blur, but it being hand painted. And this is going to give us some motion in here, a bit of motion blur. I was stuck in ads, I swear. It's annoying that there's ads. They stop when you alt. I don't know what that means. So yeah, well, I hope everyone enjoyed the stream yesterday. I know I did. It was a lot of fun. It was nice having a guest on. And yeah, Laura's very easy to talk to. We can spin yarns quite easy. So. So, yeah, the reason I'm opting for a more sort of painted blur on this is that when it's stylized like this, and then you know, hit motion blur on Photoshop, it just feels so so digital and kind of fake, and you get this real juxtaposition between sort of painted edges and edges that are now sort of smeared, like clean pixels, I guess, versus like textured pixels, and it just looks nay good, and certainly less energetic. So I'm going to sort of jump out a lot of these edges, soften them up. Almost a bit like sort of speed lines in a way, but and this way, when it's on everything, it's going to give the effect I want without kind of breaking the style so much. So yeah, Kuya, what's up? All the homies are coming in now. So next week, will be my last week before I'm on vacation for a couple of weeks. So we will start something new. I've got some ideas in mind, and we'll have those 2 streams next week, Wednesday, Thursday, and then I'm outies for a couple of weeks. So I'm sorry. Which layer are you on, you bastard? Fuck off. Okay. Be like that. Absolutely. Damn, no more co-working streams. Are you headed somewhere for vacation? Yes. Yes. I'm going to Amsterdam for the first week and then Portugal for the second week. So yeah, I'll be away for a bit. Gonna take the sketchbook though. Is that your own Spider-Man design or a specific one? Yeah. It's yeah, it's just made up. I absolutely destroyed the to-do list today. The to-do list got done. Yeah. No, Portugal's lovely. I've been to Portugal a lot. Great food. Great landscape. Great surfing. Just altogether a great time. Amsterdam is good fun too. Once you get sort of away from the touristy areas, it's really nice. Once you get high. That shit's strong out there, man. It'll blow your head off. When I was, I don't know, 18, 19, I went on a trip to Amsterdam. Went to the coffee shop. Got the menu for all the weed. Picked one that was described as cerebral and intense. Thinking, you know, what's the harm? I can be cerebral, you know. I can handle intense. And let me tell you, it was fucked up. It was a roller coaster. I had all the emotions. It was a whole ass intense experience. Look lovely through the train window. Yeah, for real. Yeah, we're actually getting the train there as well, so I've never got the train into Amsterdam before. I've usually only flown there, so really looking forward to that, because I do prefer a train journey than a plane journey. Cerebral sounds diabolical. Yeah, dude, it was just way too much. Just a lot going on. Yeah, never again, for sure. Yeah. Never get anything off a menu that says cerebral and intense, no matter what it is. Lesson learned. Never would have tried that in a million years. Yeah, it's just so much hubris on my part. I was like, yeah, I can handle that. You know, as someone who was pretty into smoking weed at that point in my life, I was like, psh, no problem. I got this. Did not got this. Never been so like. I felt schizophrenic. Do you know what I mean? I felt like I had 3 different voices in my head, and like at times lots of energy, and at times not much, and always just feeling a bit like I didn't really know what to do with myself. Very self-conscious. Yeah, I mean, it was exactly what it said on the tin. It was cerebral and intense. But I just thought for some reason, I was like, I got this, man. But that's just what you do as a dickhead teenager, don't you? Just think you're invincible. How long did that last? The sort of the peak of the intensity of it probably only lasted about an hour and a half, but there's probably a good 2 or 3 hours of like coming back to feeling kind of normal, and then at the end of it I just felt super drained. But yeah, it's just like one of those things you just can't turn it off. So like once you're in, you're in. The roller coaster has left, and you're on it, and you just gotta try to keep it together while you're on it. Yo, Foxy Pin, thanks for the follow. Welcome to the stream. Pizza Parker Big Chill kind of sounds like an idea that came to fruition during a Cerebral Weed event. Yeah. Yeah. What's wrong with that as a title? We're finishing off Pizza Parker. It's going to be a big chill. That makes perfect sense. You guys are tripping. No, it's perfect. Good. Good. I'm really digging vivid light layers recently. They got a lot going for them. I might dial a bit of it back, but adding a nice little bit of saturation and subsurface scattering. Yeah, yesterday's stream was like one of the busiest ones we've had in this time slot. It was pretty good. When we were in the sort of earlier time slot, you know, during the day and stuff, the numbers are obviously quite a bit bigger. And then since moving to this time slot, they kind of dipped off, which I expected. But yeah, yesterday's numbers were like back up there. Yo, Jewel, what's up? How you doing? Welcome back. Okay, let's just hit that on the upside down while we hit save. I hope you're doing good. Yeah, good, thank you. Happy I ate before the stream. Food's looking really good. Yeah, I promise the next one won't have any food in it, so we don't have this torture every time. And yeah, I apologize for not being able to fit in a critique stream before I go on holiday. My weekends have been jam-packed, and Then I've just been super busy with work. So having the time to like sit down and figure out when and then put aside like 4 hours to do it. It's been kind of difficult, but I'll defo try and get to it when I'm back. It's that time of year when I just don't have any free weekends. And also, you know, like when the weather's really good. You just kind of want to be outside, don't you? Not necessarily you. I mean, like me. Yeah, someone always breaks out the barbecue, don't they? And think I'm missing a barbecue. You got another thing coming. I live for the barbecue. But anyway, it's too early to talk about food again. Someone say barbecue? No. You must have hallucinated it. No one said it. Bonjour. Ça va? How you doing, Castonia? You decent? Very satisfying. That's the aim. That's the aim. You good? Good. I'm also good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. are you? Really good talk yesterday on stream. Went to watch back what I missed. I like that version of a stream. Oh, thanks. I'm glad you enjoyed it. We both really enjoyed it too. It was good fun. Nice. Nice to do something a little different. And yeah, I was saying before, like, Laura's really easy to talk to. Super chill. Nice person. So I was like, I'm sure everyone will enjoy us just chatting shit. Gonna try to do that a little more. I'm gonna get my wife Daisy to come on as well. We're gonna do some kind of drawing challenges. So that should be quite funny. Yeah, Daisy's hilarious. So I think you guys will be entertained. Yeah, no, it should be a good one. Like I said, Daisy's hilarious, so you will be entertained. Yeah, it'd be great. I'm looking forward to it too. And yeah, we're gonna do some drawing challenges. Yeah, a few things. That we've decided we wanted to do. So that'll be really fun. And again, a little bit like light-hearted. Wait, what's gone on here? There we go. Sorry. Craziness. Wrong layer craziness going on. Peace. Yeah, so I think the way that will work, like Daisy will be on Procreate on her iPad. And then we will both be on this camera with this microphone, but you'll have both of our screens and we'll be like next to each other here on the desk. And yeah, got a couple of like sort of fun drawing challenges with a bit of audience driven stuff, so that'd be good. And yeah, maybe if I can get that set up and tested in time, then we could do that next week before we go. Yo, what's up? Sarah's in the house. Background music's a vibe, huh? Can't go wrong with a bit of a bonobo, honestly. I've been listening to like bands that I listened to when I was a teenager today. Because I'd loads of like rendering stuff to do, so I needed to just sort of have something, you know, just put albums on that I already knew, just to lock in, you know. And it was great. It was good fun. Hope you're doing good. I am doing great, thanks, Sarah. We were just chatting about yesterday's stream a little bit, and that was a lot of fun. And then, yeah, just been talking about what's coming on next. Got an idea for some stream to do. But I will plan it out when I get a little bit of time to think about it over the weekend. But yeah, we should have a good stream next week. Anyway, how are you doing? How was Comic-Con? Did you show the artwork that you made to the guys from the game? I forget the name of the game. Kingdom Come Deliverance. Did you show it to them? What was the deal? Exciting, yes. They were super lovely. They showed it off on their streams, and it's getting a lot of love on Reddit at the moment. Very nice. It's the way to do. It's the way to go. Yeah, it's fun if you make something for the fandom and that of a certain thing that you're into, and then they like it. It's a nice like added bonus to finishing it that it gets some love. I was crazy nervous, but they were really nice and spent some time giving advice about working in creative industries, which is really sweet of them. Oh, that's nice. Was this like a queue up sort of meet and greet, or did you go and see a talk by them? Or yeah, I was in the line for like 2 hours. They spent a lot of time with every fan, which I think stressed the Comic-Con staff out. Yeah, I'm sure. That's cool though. That's why they're there, to do that. If I was the staff, just be like, whatever. You do you, guys. Really enjoyed yesterday's stream, by the way. I learned a lot, and I've been trying to apply some of it at work today. No trouble. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I think had some good feedback so far about it. Yeah, I think it's nice having someone on that I know and like can chill and vibe with. It's a little bit harder to have like guests that I don't know, Like I've done it before, and stuff like that, but yeah, it becomes a little bit tough if you don't know them. But yeah, me and Laura known each other for a few years now, so we can vibe. But yeah, Laura is someone that sort of came to me at some point looking for. I'd done a talk at the uni at her university, and then she kind of got in contact with me sometime afterwards to be like, can you help me out? And I was like, yeah, sure, let's let's try do that. And yeah, let's go from there, really. Yeah, it's a nice vibe for a stream as a viewer too. Yeah, no, it's good fun. But yeah, there's a whole heap of people that I've done streams with before that I will be asking to see. Yo, do you want to come and do another one? So we'll have some guests every now and again. When I've done it before as well, we've usually done like some sort of challenge or something that we're both doing, so that the content that you're watching is like got some kind of purpose to it as well. You know, previously I've done things like I did a stream with a TCK, and we gave each other a piece of old work, and then the other one had to like critique it and paint over it to like make it better. And that was really fun. Things like, you know, funny and fun at the same time. We both picked some work from like, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago. Really old stuff. And yeah, just looking at it being like, trying to keep the essence of it and keep it the same. But then we changed it, you know, the composition and this, that, and the other. It was a good chance to like, I don't know, sort of talk about what would do different, why, and also try and keep the idea somewhat similar. But yeah, it was a good one. I think it helped a lot of people. And it's kind of funny as well, because, you know, we're just looking at old work and having a giggle about that. So that was quite fun. So we could try and do something like that. Let's see. Yeah, I've got another stream in mind that could be one that we do next week. That is something that people could follow along to if they wanted. Okay, I don't think I need all of these. That's so sore from sitting all day. I've been like locked in today. The to-do list got decimated today. Decimated, mate. Yeah, it got proper done. No, some days it's like you got a lot of little things to do. Those days I find harder than, like, if I've got a day where I'm like, oh, I just need to lock in and paint this thing today, you know, like it's just, it needs a good few hours on it. That's kind of an easy lock-in day. But if it's a day where it's like, okay, this needs like maybe an hour and a half, you know, this is something that needs working out, you know. It's not, the answer's not necessarily that obvious, but it needs kind of a bit of time invested to sort it out. You know, then just like it's a bit of admin, all that kind of stuff. Those are the difficult days. The ones where locking in is disrupted because you're changing what you're working on, you know, every hour or 2 hours. Yeah, those are the days that I struggle with a little bit. Have to really be like, okay. Yeah, I think sort of doing Pomodoro timers kind of thing is very helpful. I think that really helps me to focus. I just write down, you know, everything I need to do. Then I'd split it up into like hour chunks with a break in between. And then I'll have like, you know, maybe a half an hour chunk that's just like admin stuff. So like sorting files out and email, whatever. Put my meetings on there. And so basically I don't have to think about what I'm doing next. I think that is a big thing. And then also when I lock in for that hour of work, I already have chosen like what I'm going to listen to, and I put my phone away and I put a timer on the screen. So yeah, it's good. It just means like that next hour, you know, the timer's up. I look what I've got next. I've got 15-minute break. So I'm like, cool. All the stuff that I thought about in that break, you know, stuff that would have been something that I'd switch off and go and do, you know, I then do in that break. And then I look and I go like, well, what have I got next? Okay, I'm working on this image. cool. Get the notes open for that, and then again, phone away, timer on, lock in, and so on. And just keep going back and forth like that. It's very helpful. Because if I just am like, oh, okay, I've got 4 hours to do all of these tasks, like that can get a bit messy, especially if I'm like changing music, or I'm like, oh, I got to send that email, and I send the email, but all that kind of stuff, If I separate it out and just be like, this is when I do this, this is when I do this, this is when I do this, quite a lot of the time you find you've got more time. But there's also how I'm able to work on more than one illustration at a time, and they're all at different points as well. Like, some illustrations are still being ideated on, while some like a kind of a finishing stage and all that kind of stuff. And it's hard to switch modes, but it's got easier for sure. You just got to be very conscious of how you actually function, I think. I think once you sort of understand how you work and build your sort of structure around that for working, it does get a lot easier to manage time. And then you just sort of have to revisit that process every now and again, because like you also change and adapt, But when I'm like locked in to paint something like that, and I'm like, oh, I've got an hour to do this. Like, an hour doesn't seem long, and it's definitely not long if you procrastinate and muck around, but I can get a shit ton of stuff done in an hour. Especially if it's like rendering. I can fly through something. And I think, as a professional, you need to try and figure out how you can turn that on and off as you need be, because there are going to be days where you actually just can't lock in, right? You are, for whatever reason, you're really tired, you've had a bad week or whatever. There's going to be some times that, understandably, you just aren't going to function like a human, right? But most of the time, got to try and figure out a way to sort of be adaptable, turn on and turn off for me, for doing rendering and then doing a meeting and then doing something else. You know what I mean? You got to figure yourself out a little bit. part of being professional in it. Well, let's save that. But I mean, you'll learn the way you work, and it's new to you, right, at the moment. So it's going to be a bit weird. It's going to be a bit of a learning curve. I remember when I first started, I had my junior position. Like, I was struggling all the time. Struggling with like time management, with energy level, with, you know, spending lots of time figuring stuff out because, you know, didn't know it. All that kind of stuff. And then when I went freelance, like, time management was like the big hurdle, because I had to balance like taking on too many jobs. Those blur lines on the hand are looking amazing by the art. Thank you very much. Yeah, I had to. Basically, I was worried about turning jobs down because I was like, well, I need to, you know, what if there's a quiet period or something like that? So I said yes to like all sorts of work. And then I ran into the problem of like literally having no time to do all of that work. And having to ask for deadline extensions and, you know, or just stressing myself working on something where it was like, I'm still going to meet the deadline, but now I'm going to have to just like stay up late or work on this day when I was meant to be working on this, and so on and so forth. And after like a few months of that, I was like, I can't work like this. You know, I need to really understand how long things take me, you know? So then I sort of timed myself. Just seeing how long things took, right? And then I realized that I was kind of grossly misunderstood how long things took me. And that was leading to all these problems as well. So then I sort of was much better at that side of things. And then that's when I really started to think about process and being like, how can I streamline what I'm doing into a better process? Because, you know, again, it was one of those things where it was one of those things where every image I'd be starting like a different way, and I would like, you know, do a really messy sketch that then I'd sort of turned into color, and eventually was like, oh yeah, okay, I'm going to paint on top of that and blah blah blah. And then the next one I would start in color and, you know, do it that way, and, you know, make a bit of a mess and blah blah blah, all of that again. And yeah, it became a bit of an issue, because then every single image was a brand new challenge, and it was like I had to start again from the beginning, and, you know, not knowing if I could get where I wanted to on the image, or knowing how it was going to start, and this, that, and the other. So then I really started trying to develop a process of like, okay, I need a way of starting images the same way, regardless of what it is, and I need like a process to get to a certain position in my illustration, so that there's not all this guesswork. And also then I can say, okay, this stage takes me 3 hours to get to. This stage is a day's work. This stage is 2 days on top of that, etc. And that way I got a much better handle on like what I can achieve in a day, which then has a knock-on effect in being able to help you sort of like price things for clients and give a good estimation of like, oh, I could take this job on because this one's going to be finished, this one's going to be at this stage, and so on. And like that was a whole load of stuff that working in a studio is kind of to some degree sorted out for you, as in like you're not having to talk to clients and schedule work for yourself and all of that in a studio. Like that's mostly done for you. So yeah, that was all a big learning curve. And none of that has anything to do with getting better at art either. You have to then practice and stuff on the side and make sure you do personal work and stuff like that. Mostly doing good, hitting my deadlines, just learning how to jump in and out of meetings without disrupting that flow. Yeah, exactly. You'll get there with that though. Yeah. And like, you know, you'll have different processes for different things and stuff. And maybe there's an illustration or a piece of work that you like, do you know what, I don't need to start this way. I can forego part of the process to do it. I'm really familiar with the subject, let's say, or it's like, you know, you've got a very clear brief or something like that, which means you're not going through a certain stage. You can adapt it, but it's just like it's always there, so that if you run into trouble or you know it's going to be tricky, then you can be aware like, oh, okay, I will get to a stage that I can finish it from using this process, you know. And it's adaptable. The thing is like this process that I use to get to this point in the painting is like, if I'm painting something more realistic, it's the same. If I'm painting something more stylized, it's the same. It's just, you know, really comes down to then the brushes I'm using, the strokes I'm making, you know, the level of detail I'll go to at the end. But the process starts the same. And you know, that's kind of what makes you more versatile as well, because unless you have like a really, you know, instantly recognizable kind of style, a style that you will get hired for exclusively, like as an illustrator, you know, especially like a senior or a principal illustrator, you are expected to be able to take on a project style, you know, and absorb that and then do the work in that style for that project. You know, there are people that they're illustrators and concept artists that have a very, very defined style already, like, and that's all they do in their work. And when they get hired for professional work, they're being hired for that style specifically. So they're already like in the comfort zone in that sense. But like myself, I've always been a bit more of a generalist, and in that way, I can adapt to different styles, and have adapted to different styles for different projects throughout my career. Which means I can take on a wider variety of jobs, you know. I can do stuff that's more realistic. I can do stuff that's much more stylized. I can look at a style of a current project, you know, and adapt to it, and then work in that style. And this processor lets me do that as well, because it's the same start. And again, you can use it to do environments, characters, you know. You can even render props and all that kind of stuff using the same process. It's all derived from the same idea. Studio I'm working with is completely different to my regular stuff. I'm learning so much from it. Yeah, you will do. You will do. Yeah, that like first year on the job for me, I learned an insane amount of stuff. And like, you'll figure out what you like as well, and how you like to work, and so on. And what you like doing as well, more and more. Like I've sort of switched around styles and so on quite a bit, because I sort of started, you know, very much as a generalist, right? And then I just had to adapt to like different projects. But then I quite like it, because something will pique my interest, and then I will go like really stylized, you know, like this. Or when I was doing the environments where it's a bit more realistic than this, and so on. I like jumping around and not necessarily having something that I do every, you know, that I don't do every single picture in the same style, you know. That you can see a through line, right, between the most stylized thing and the most realistic thing. The sort of the essence of it is all still similar, but the output is different. I think this milkshake might be my favorite part of the the image. I've been reading Invincible and Battle Beast recently, and the way that Ryan Otley draws like blood is very much like influencing the shapes here. So let me pull up a little bit of ref to show you what I mean. And I'll just change music real quick. Hey yo, Tigitima, thank you for the follow. Okay. Okay. Fucking Pinterest, man. Hey yo, Leo Val Art, thanks for the raid. And hey, how you doing? Thanks for bringing your peeps over. Okay, so yeah, this is a Ryan Otley drawing, and I've been looking at the blood quite a bit recently because I just really like the shapes and the way it's drawn. And this is very much influencing the design of the milkshake in here. So we've got this like nice mix of like very sort of blobby end parts and mixed in with like very momentum driven kind of flinging of the blood. So you get these like right angles and like weird bits where it's like thick and thin, and then it ends in a blob, and there's lots of blobs and direction to it, but it feels very thick, right, and like quite visceral in a way. And yeah, the milkshake, these kind of shapes ending in a blob is something that I've been looking at quite a bit with those, and just trying to, when I was painting this and those kind of things, just have that stuff in the back of my mind because I've been looking at it a lot, and then I try and like pull it out and emulate it when I do it. But yeah, it's very like inspired by Ryan Otley and the Invincible comics kind of shape design. And like in a way, the anatomy of this Pizza Parker here has got a very like Ryan Otley feel about it, especially the way he draws forearms and the muscles. He has like a very sort of sharp, defined edginess to it, which I am drawn to. So yeah, some of the influence, if you like, from this has made its way into this, just because it's in the Alex Heath zeitgeist right now. So there you go. Yo, Raiders, exactly. Don't know if I am going to use any of this filter anyway. I'm just kind of mucking around, seeing if there's somewhere it might be useful in places. I've offset it slightly, which I'm not actually sure that I like. So let's do that here. It can be nice to like bring a bit of extra zing and color into certain things, but other times, yeah, it's not. It ain't the best, chief. So let's see. Yeah, not sure. Not sure. This bit's bothering me a little bit. Kind of missed the Witch project. Do you think you'll go back to it at some point? Oh yeah, defo. It's just good to have like something like that established a little bit, and then when I feel like, oh, okay, I want to go back and do some like, some spooky enviros again, then I already have like a framework for it, you know, like a little project that it can sit within, and I'll just keep coming back to it over and over. So yeah, 100p. Zing! So yeah, sorry, I'm just tweaking the colors with the curves here, just seeing if there's anything like any of these tweaks that I do that grab my attention in an interesting way. Duh. Let's turn this upside down. We'll have a little look at it upside down for a bit. Yeah, curves. If you are unfamiliar with curves, or you didn't really know what to do with it, this is curves. You can go to it by going filter, adjustment layers, like this. Actually, where is it? Yeah, if you go view, window, and adjustments, if you click on that, it'll bring this up over here. And curves is one of these, but you can also have that set to a shortcut. And curves for me is this, which is the S3 macro. So it's Control M on the keyboard, but yeah, it's on this button for me. But anyway, if you bring that up, you get this box, and there's lots you can do with this. But to understand what you're looking at, is you're looking at a histogram of the entire image, and this is all of the colors in the image, right? And this bottom portion here is your darks. Okay, so if you move that this way, you can make the darks darker across the bottom. Yeah. And if you move that up this way, you can make the darks lighter. So you're bringing up the value of the darks. And up here, this is your lights, the lightest lights. So you can bring the lightest lights down, darker, or across, lighter, right? Or, and this is all of them, all the colors in the RGB. Or you can say just take the reds, and this is what I was doing on here before. Was where I was looking at the image, and I was like, maybe. Hang on, let's do it on this one. So I was like, let's have a look at this. I'll turn it the other way around as well, so it's a bit easier to understand. All right. So let's just take the reds, because there's a lot of reds here, right? There's reds in the pinks, there's reds in the yellows, this and the other. If I go onto the reds and I'm like, I want to take some of the red out of my darks, right? These deeper reds, I want to take that out a little bit. So I'm going to shift those reds darker in here. And you see how that's pulling red out of the darkest tones in the image until eventually, you know, there's going to be no red. But it's starting from the darks, and that, you know, I can take the red out of the highlight as well. So it's taking that, and you can be quite specific about the colors on here. So basically, what I was doing on this one is I've taken a little bit of the red out of the darker values, and then I've brought a little bit of the blue back into the darks. So whereas this one has a kind of slight warm sort of haziness to it, this one now has a slight bit more definition in the bottom half, because I've taken out some of the reds in those darks and I've altered the blue. So it's a really, really helpful layer for like targeting specific colors. There you go. Whoa. Hi there. I love your work. I had a question about a specific brush plugin I downloaded. I wonder if you could help. Sure. I mean, what brush plugin is that? I'm not sure I can help, just because I don't use any brush plugins. It's called the Quest from the Blicky Pack V3.4. Yo, you're right. How you doing, Robbie? You got me there. What's going on, dude? That's funny. No one else is going to know what you're talking about, but I know what's going on. You notice how polite I was trying to be? Awesome art, man. Thanks, dude. Much appreciated. Thanks for tuning in, coming along. Yeah, you proper got me there. Proper got me. Finally home on Thursday. Nice, man. No after work drinks today. Do you know what? That does sound good though. Going home, having a beer. Might have to do the same when I get back. Day for it. Day for it. Working from home, no thirsty Thursdays today, but I do miss the AC in the office, bro. Yeah, I've been cooking in my studio here. Absolutely cooking this week. It's been unbelievably warm. My fan has been MVP, and then I've been like sticking it in my rucksack and taking it home and using it in the apartment in the evening. It's been hell. I'm not a man of the heat. When are you going to post the projects we want to see? Which projects, Castonia? Which projects? This one? Do you mean this one? Which one? All of them? I will do another like sketch dump, because I've got loads more from stream, you know. The work one. Oh, the work one. Yeah. Hey, real soon. Real soon, honestly. You will see in due course. In due course. What am I doing to this piece now? Final touches. Yeah, basically, this has been what we've worked on for the last 4 streams or so. And today is, yeah, really final touches. Hang on, if I go here, one sec. I've got kind of where we started today. And I'll show you. I've just got to open it up off screen. So I can do a sort of where I was at the beginning of the stream, where I am now kind of comparison. But yeah, we're just finishing this one up, and then after today I won't work on this one anymore. So let's go back to Photoshop. This is where we were at the beginning of today's stream, and this is where it's currently at. So quite a bit of grading, if you like, tinkering with the layout and stuff, bit of rendering. We painted in the motion blur, but as you can see, like here, it was like kind of a bit flat. The colors are a bit flat. They're sort of all kind of clustered around the middle, not too saturated. So that was one thing I wanted to address with adjusting the colors today, was to like bring a bit of saturation back. Then as I was painting it, I was like, I need a few more things that cross the boundary of the image. Like at the moment, in this version, like there's a bit of a horrible tangent here where this cup like just touches the bottom, which I'm not kind of into. But like there isn't too many things that cross the boundary. There's the burger that crosses out of the image. There's this hot dog and this pizza. And I felt that the image it didn't have like enough motion in it, despite the fact that he's actually, there is a lot of forward motion. So what I wanted to do was have stuff crossing out of the image. So now I've got like this piece of sushi crossing out. The cup is now not tangenting, it's actually coming out. And I altered the shape of some things as well. So as I brought the milkshake forward, I sort of altered the shape a little bit. I altered the curvature in these pizzas. Just, I think, to give a bit more overall movement in the piece. I also slightly adjusted and warped the background as well to be a bit better in the curvilinear perspective of the image. And then then we painted in the motion blur. Again, right now, this image is like things are in motion, but it feels like a snapshot. Like we're not moving. So I wanted to get that in there as well. So those are the kind of the things we've been looking at. And then, that's a lot of the adjustments really. And some other stuff that I've been generally kind of working at and looking at is like the flow of the composition, how things like enter the composition, go through it, and like exit, and so on. So I've just been constantly adjusting that since the very beginning. And it always starts off not quite as impactful. Even in this version, it's like it has less of the flow that I'm after. And then here it gets tweaked a bit more. And now it has a bit more whimsy and like flow to it. Cleaned up edges and so on. So yeah, what I'm trying to build up is this idea of like, there is a flow into the illustration, and things are arranged along that flow or along separate flows. And they sort of echo each other and fan out from a point. And some things are in a relationship to each other in that way, and other things imply the relationship to each other. And I try and like get that to look as if things are sort of flowing in that direction, but also I don't want to line things up so specifically to that it becomes very contrived. And I do that within shapes in and of themselves as well. So if there's like, there's this sort of implied line that comes in like this. And where possible, we try and take that line, and make it, echo it, jump it around, and so on and so forth. But one thing I like to do with the in shapes, okay, so that's like general flow, right? General flow of things going in and around in the image, okay? Which is one thing, right? But then there's flow. Then there's flow within just one area itself that I also try and achieve, which is like this. Let's take the burger as an example, and then we'll look at something else and see what the flow has there. So we have the burger, okay, and at some point the burger was quite assembled, and it was kind of like this. The yellow shows up better, actually. We had the burger, right? And it was quite assembled in shape. It was kind of like that. Okay, it had the lettuce, it had the burger, and all of that. But it was very much burgery shaped. Hang on, this song is really pissing me off. Got to put something way more chill on. There we go. Sorry, it was really getting in my ear hole. So yeah, it was quite like this. It's sort of quite rounded and dumpy, right? And like all of the lines in it are just all going the same way, right? They're all just going around the burger like this. And it's quite static. And in an illustration that wants to have a lot of movement in it, it's no good. We can't have that. And that was kind of pointed out. I think maybe it was Sarah that pointed it out in the image, that like the burger is very well put together. So we were like, okay, let's change that. So what I'm looking at here is I have this kind of flow within the burger where these shapes are flowing out in like this direction. Well, you could say either direction, but they're like flowing towards a point. Yeah. So they're flowing in towards this point. So that gives it momentum, right? All those lines, they're converging in a certain direction. Okay. Which is quite sort of pleasing to the eye. It's differently pleasing than what we had before, which was like this. This is very stable, okay? It's a very stable thing. This is much more unstable, and it is drawing the eye, towards a point, and that is giving it energy and direction. The eye wants to follow it, okay? But the thing is, we don't want everything to do that. If we do this with the whole thing and we don't deviate from that, it is still going to draw the eye, but you're now setting up a very constant rhythm, okay? And this can feel kind of unnatural. And so for something like this, where it wants to be a bit whimsical, it wants to feel like it's sort of spilling apart and it's in motion, there needs to be a little bit more breakup in that narrative. So that's when we have this shape of the burger, which is still following the same direction, still doing this, okay? But it counteracts the flow a little bit. It goes over one of the lines, okay? And this gives us variation within that. It's not everything doing the same thing. But then if you look on the inside, we have the cheese, and this is converging back in this direction. So we have a flow that is pinching. It's doing the same as the yellow flow, but it's flowing back into the shape. So the yellow flow is giving us our overall direction. The blue is slightly countering it, and then the red reverts it. And that gives us like quite a lot of interest and visual play, enough that it doesn't feel contrived. And as you'll notice as well, this is also big, medium, and small shape with the cheese. And then secondary, I guess, we've got this kind of flow that's starting to come around. And as I'm looking at these shapes, and I keep revisiting them over and over again throughout the time I've been painting, I pick up on one of these flows, I kind of alter it, I find something I like, then I go away and I paint something else, and then I start to look at it again, and I start to think, okay, this bit's working. The burger bun, the lettuce and the bun, that flow's working. How can I now break that a little bit, and so on and so forth. And it's just through constant revisiting that this happens. But I start to do it everywhere. And this is what gives that energy to the piece overall, where it's all flowing around, and one thing kind of leads into another, which then leads into another, but they're not all on a roller coaster going the same direction. With the anatomy here, it's one of those things where we've got a lot of convergence going on, and again, this gives us nice energy. So you've got like all of these shapes like this that converge and pinch, and then at the head we start to set up shapes that are going the opposite way. So we like the point at which the tension is at maximum. Is here where lots of the lines are converging, and where like all of these kind of lines, and all of these flows, they're all setting up to go to as well. And like it is a case of like revisiting it over and over and over again, and looking at the shapes and those flows. You start with the biggest one, and then you keep breaking it down, over and over and over again. So, when I'm jumping around on the image and I'm like, I paint on this for 5 minutes, and then I paint on this for 5 minutes, and I flip it and then flip it and then I go back. This is what I'm looking at when I go back. But it starts initially with the pose, and then placement of things, and then you just keep refining that stuff, over and over and over. It goes and yeah, that's how I sort of build up these very like dynamic compositions, is to just keep revisiting this stuff over and over again. Yeah, it is. You could think of it like water. It's just like eddies in water, that they swirl and hit each other and go, and then you get other things. But yeah. Bit complex, but it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, fair enough. Does all objects need to point towards the focal point? No, that is the death knell for the flow. If everything points directly at your focal points, it becomes very contrived very quickly. If all lines in the image just pointed towards the head directly, like this, all the flow will just be that, you don't want that. Yeah, you can, and obviously that could be warped. It doesn't need to be like this exactly, but you don't want every single line to converge at the same point in the illustration. Unless you're completely emphasizing like the speed of something, and you just like, you take the perspective lines and you use that as your focus to draw you into a singular point, but then you're really focusing on speed, and so on. You want enough things to be pointing at your focal point that it becomes the place that your eye starts to gather, but you also want things that counteract that flow and produce other shapes within the composition to move your eye around, so that you are not contriving the look. Otherwise everything will just go in the same direction. If everything was like this exactly, you can follow a lot of lines like this. But if everything was doing this in the image, it would just be, hey, yo, thanks for the sub, Robbie, you angel. You know, if this was the flow and everything was arranged on this, you see how contrived that would be? Like, it would be like it would be like he was the center of a whirlwind that is like pulling the food into him, and it would look odd. It wouldn't have that same sort of seems like chaos, but is happening in an interesting way. You know what I mean? More subtly implied. Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much, Robbie. Much appreciated, mate. But yeah, this is all flow is all stuff that I learnt from graffiti and like being interested in graffiti, which I think would be interesting for us to do a stream on, where I could sort of break down some graffiti and talk about like what it is, and what's happening, because all of these principles that I was talking about here with convergence and then, you know, counter convergence, all of this basically is all stuff that I learnt from graffiti, and that then I look at, you know, paintings and films and so on, and I can see those same things being applied. Now I think obviously graffiti takes it from, you know, art in its antiquity and letter forms and so on. Graffiti didn't invent flow and composition, but it heavily relies on those things to, you know, create the art form. So, and it's sort of distilled in a more understandable way, I think, because you're in an image, you know, you've got all of these things, these separate things that you associate with, you know, real life and objects. But with graffiti, you can just look at letter forms, right, and be like, okay, I know that this was actually meant to be. Let's go here. We'll do a quick bit of it here. Okay, so we got a capital A, right? we know this is what this is. And then see if I can get a better brush for this. You know, we understand that we could maybe like stylize that a little bit and do something like this with it. And we are adapting that letter form. All right, well, graffiti is starting to take this idea and just run with it. And, you know, what I like about graffiti is that you can give, you know, this word, which, you know, in this kind of font, in this thing, doesn't have much energy going for it. Okay, it's kind of like looking at a block of flats. It's just blocks, you know. Doesn't have a lot of energy to it, standing still. But like in graffiti, they'll take that. Hang on, I'll do a word that I do. So let's say like this. In this type form, you know, it's it doesn't have a lot of energy, like I was saying. It's just like blocks. Okay? But if I start to think of it, that I'm throwing energy in different directions, and I'm looking at converging, and I'm looking at changing current and flow and direction, you can start to get like a really nice idea of what graffiti is all about, and, you know, trying to understand the direction and flow within this. And then I took those principles over to like my artwork, you know. But in here we see, I'll do it in yellow, do it in blue here. There's like this kind of converging of shapes, but then also I start to mirror and turn that energy over into this direction, and there is like a balance to it. There is a balance, there is a flow in there, that sort of pushes the word around and gives you this energy, right, in it. And then taking this further, you know, when you start to add thickness and color and all of that stuff to it, you can add in form and go from there. So like with this, the word dank, okay, when I do it here, the way that I write it is I try and make this part like a crown, as in to say, like, the crown is a symbol in graffiti to be like, you're the king, like you own the wall, you know. So you'll see it a lot up in like a lot of graffiti tags. People even like do this over the top. They'll put a crown on their tag to be like, I'm the king, right? Well, I like to try and make that picture within the letters itself and the way they overlap, and so on. But you take this into like doing actual pieces of graffiti, you know, like, you know, full on colored, block lettered, 3-dimensional, etc. And you add form into it, and then you're on a completely different, you know, train of thought, and you're much closer to what we're talking about in real artwork. So I say real artwork, I mean like, you know, actual illustrations. So let's grab one of this guy's artworks, and you'll see what I mean. Right. So pardon me. So this here, right, very complicated, like wild style piece, but it has like a ton of form and 3-dimensionality to it, and you see how much energy this has, right? This has like so much energy and flow and composition to it, but also it's got form. You know, we get a sense of like 3-dimensionality and 3-dimensional space, and how like there's just interlocking energy, flow, you know, there's a whole composition going on in here, and it's just a word, right? It's just a word at the end of the day. And this was the kind of thing that once I understood about graffiti and like what they're trying to do with that and the composition, that I was able to take that over to making this kind of stuff and really start understanding about how I can direct the eye. That essentially what I've got here is just like a bunch of words again, and it's graffiti, except it's a real picture, and that's how I'm like understanding composition in a way. So now I think we can do like a whole stream or two on this idea, and we can basically, I can teach you a few graffiti fundamentals, and then we'll do a piece or something, because it's quite interesting, and like it clicked for me this way about composition. So maybe it'll click for others. Oh my god, I just felt something click in my brain, you absolute legend. Maybe was it, there you go, maybe you had the eureka moment. So but yeah, there you go. I don't know. I've got nothing else to say now. Trying to think, do I like the slightly darker one or the more redder one? I think the darker one feels a bit more punchy to me, which I like. Wisdom to live. I could probably say it in a more succinct way, but I'm like, I'm trying to like talk and be overtly inspired at the same time. But yeah, it's truly is a crazy art form, graffiti. There's so much to it, and yeah, you know, think about this for a sec. Like, what is that if not a piece of graffiti? Like the abstract view of this, you know? It's like interlocking shapes, different forms that have a flow and an energy to it that in and of itself is interesting to look at, and has like a direction that my eye is being led around, and like a different, you know, the energy goes from one direction to another, you know. There's sort of a fanning out of information like this that then starts to change direction, okay, and it feeds into these other things. You know, if I'm just outlining all these flows again. You know, is that not like a piece of graffiti? The beginnings of. Do you see what I mean? And if you can look at your surfaces in your painting and start to like abstract them in this way and create this flow and energy with the rules that you understand, you know, and you pair that up with like big shapes, medium shapes, small shapes, etc. You're gonna start creating really interesting, you know, pieces that in and of themselves have a very tangible abstract appeal to them, but then they're also something else, you know. They're also, it's Spider-Man or whatever. And I think that is like the key to building something that is aesthetically pleasing. It's like it needs to work, you know, on the surface level as just being the thing that it is, but on a subconscious level, it is like a very interesting and pleasing pattern and arrangement, and so on. You know, and like it's almost doing it. And you know, if you can get that to happen like all over a piece in the way that you break it down and the way that you subdivide your shapes and so on, you're going to get very visually appealing and flowy stuff. And you know, for me at least, none of that clicked until, you know, I got more into graffiti, and then, you know, I was trying to be like, how do they make this from the letters? Like, how does that happen? Like, what do I need to know to get to this point? And yeah, that's that. So anyway. I think this darker one has the edge over the other one. So yeah, I mean, I think I'm pretty much done on this this painting, at least as much as I'm going to do on it. I think it's served its purpose. It's been a really fun one though, working on this one. Nice little stream project, and yeah, we got a lot of different kind of tutorial opportunities out of it as well. It's officially over. Feels like the end of summer holidays. Yeah. It's only been like what, 4 streams on this one? No, 5, because we had the one yesterday. So what's that? 15 hours from sketch to final. Bit less because there's been some talking and mucking around. So we'll call it 13 hours. Start to finish on that. Not bad. Not a bad day at the office. But yeah, we're gonna start something fresh and new next week. Yeah, we will do something graffiti based. And yeah, I got some stuff to teach you. We'll go a bit more in depth into this and the understanding of like this. And yeah, we'll do a piece, and maybe it's something where you guys can follow along and make your own kind of thing, because there'll be a lot of understanding. There is a book that I recommend if you want to know more. Well, hang on. If you want to see some really cool stuff, let me grab it. If that little talk on graffiti inspired you and you just want to look at some sick graffiti fonts, this book, Street Fonts, Alphabets from Around the World. Basically, graffiti artists were invited to submit their own alphabets. So every page is a different graffiti writer with a different alphabet, and some of them go from like, insane wild style, interconnected alphabet. Like this is a whole alphabet interconnected. You see what I mean about flow and energy and stuff going on here. It's all here. But this is an amazing book to flick through. Super good. But what's really nice as well is, what I do is I'll go in and I'll copy out, my favorite alphabet letters and words and stuff, and just get that kind of flow going. And it's, it does feed back into your art for sure. I mean, look at these kind of pieces and stuff that are in here. Super sick to look at, but also, it's going to help you in your compositions and your flow, especially if you're doing like more stylized work as well. But yeah, also you might find that you just have a real interest in this stuff like I do, and so on. So yeah, Street Fonts, that's my recommendo. Yeah, all right, let me put this back 1 sec. always been intrigued in trying to decipher graffiti. Yeah, man. I mean, we live in the area for it. There's so much good graffiti in my area. It's really good. There's some sick new pieces up at the moment as well because it's been like nice and sunny. Everyone's been out painting, so yeah, some real sick stuff around. But yeah, I'll go out with a GoPro on my head. We'll do a graffiti stream. Alrighty, so I guess we will wrap up today's stream here. It's been a good one. Let's do the last before and after. So we go. This is where we started the stream. This is where we ended it. And yeah, this is also where we're ending this piece. So yeah. Thanks everyone for stopping by. Thank you for the new subs. Thanks for the raid. Thanks for the for tuning in, Robbie. That's much appreciated. Good to hear from you. Looking forward to seeing you at training. And yeah, I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend in the sun. Crack open a cold beer this evening. And yeah, if you got any questions or anything, hit me up in the Discord, hit me up on Instagram, whatever. Yeah, be nice to hear from you. But anyway, take it easy everyone. It's been real. Peace out.